Welcome back to the Tease podcast. Today, Joanna is not here with us, but Lexis has decided to join us. Let me tell you what we're getting into today, because you're definitely going to want to stay till the end. We close out with the conversation on why AI is not going to be able to replace creativity and ingenuity when it comes to your marketing and your content creation. We talk a lot about the aspects of the Summer I Turned Pretty that you can use in your brand and in your business in order to gain community engagement and actually get people talking about what it is that you offer and how you serve. And then, of course, we could not go this week without talking about the Taylor and Travis engagement and how brands are responding to that. So welcome back. My name is Michelle Porlani. I'm the founder and visionary of To Be Honest Beverage Company, which is a non-alcoholic functional spirit line, as well as business mentor, coach, and consultant to where personal branding meets personal development. I'm Alexis. I am a social media pro with 10 years experience on the big brand side, agency side, startup entrepreneur side, and tech side. So I've seen all of it, if not most of it, when it comes to social and digital marketing. And this is my daughter Coco, who decided to wake up early from her nap today. So she wanted to join in on Girl Talk too. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. It is later in the day when we're filming this, so I actually have electrolytes. So I know that it used to be like no salt in your diet. That was like a big thing with health, like reduced sodium and everything else. And now everyone's like, nope, salt, salt, salt. Have your electrolytes, like drink your salt water. Yeah. So my pink drink today is just like my hydrate, which has my electrolytes and everything I need to like maintain sodium, potassium in my body. So that's what I'm drinking today.
Wow, look at you. Is it Celtic sea salt or just normal sea salt?
No, it's this brand that my husband orders from. It's called Transparent Labs.
Okay.
And we get collagen and protein from them and like different things. And so it's like their electrolyte formula.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because sometimes like the salt, the quality of the salt definitely matters too. It's not like you're just taking table salt from Denny's and you're like dumping it in your water.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. But ours is like a pre-made formula, so
Oh,
I don't have to
love
worry.
it. Yeah. Well, my drink's kind of pink also. It's just like a little blueberry Topo Chico sparkling water situation. So yeah, need a little refreshing drink.
Yeah, so Joanna's not with us today. Joanna has taken a long holiday after the holiday, which I love. She deserves it. That girl works harder than a lot of the people that I know. And so she's always on ET and way out of my time zone, but you and I are in the same time zone.
Yes, hooray.
Hooray. I know it's so silly, but sometimes it's so nice just to be like, oh yeah, same time. I understand where you are. And we're not that far. We're like, a few hours.
Yeah. And also I'm like, please don't make me do that math with like trying to coordinate like, okay, what time is this in Mountain Time versus Eastern Time? Like, I
almost always botch it. I have like, even professionally, I will do the opposite. So I'll think that they're like behind, and so I'm like, okay, your 11 o'clock is like our 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. And they're like, no, that's wrong. You're like 6 hours off.
Yeah. No, that's one of my flaws too. I'm sure I annoy people with it, but I'm like, oh, here's my time, Pacific time. And then I hope they do the math for me.
Roman actually showed me this, but in your Google Calendar, you can have different time zones. So now I have an ET and a PT so that I can look and see like, oh, her 3 p.m. is my noon, whatever it is,
I'm sure I'd still mess it up.
It is helpful.
Yeah.
But I'm super excited to go into everything that we're chatting about today. I know you have a few things likely that you're going to talk about. The main thing that I want to talk about, and the question that I have to ask you, Alexis, is, are you tuned into the Summer I Turned Pretty?
Of course. Yeah. The finale is tonight, or I think it's the finale. I think it is.
It's no, I think we have more episodes.
2 more? Okay.
I thought I thought it was closed. Like, I thought it was done. Like last week, I actually thought it was like,
it was giving finale. Yeah.
It was giving finale, but it's not. And so we have a few more episodes.
Yeah. I'm really excited. I keep seeing names of just like the summer I tuned in every Wednesday to watch like teenagers fall in love, but I hate 2 of the characters as a grown woman of like who's married with kids.
It's taken over my feed. And so there's a few things that I want to highlight. specifically from the show that I think they've done so well from a marketing perspective and has really, demonstrated doing things differently than what people kind of just assume is the norm. People want to like binge watch things, for example, and so they just want to drop all the episodes at once. But we're seeing a very different way of release that I think has been really, really powerful, that has contributed to the overall buzz and conversation and marketing that's happening surrounding the show. So we'll get into that in just a minute. What's one of the things that you want to talk about today so we can start to kind of see where this conversation is going to go?
Oh gosh. Well, I know it's like old news now. It's been a little over a week, but obviously the engagement heard around the world. Taylor and Travis.
Indeed. Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
Obviously, we don't have to like dive into the details if you like live under a rock. I'm sure you don't know, but everyone else in the world knows exactly what happened. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce getting engaged. So I'd like to like kind of discuss what brands did on social to kind of like lean into this huge cultural moment, and then kind of the dialogue and conversations going on, at least on LinkedIn, that I'm seeing of people being like, hating on brands acting on it, or people just celebrating, be like, let these social managers do whatever they want. Like, they're having fun, they're sparking joy, bringing like some joy and positivity to their audiences. So yeah, just kind of want to like unpack that a little bit more too. And then let's see, I had some other good juicy stuff. Okay, OpenAI, they put out a job posting for a content strategist for ChatGPT. So I think that sheds a lot of light too on the industry, and in terms of like, if ChatGPT or like AI is coming for those types of jobs, it's like clearly not, because like why would they be hiring for somebody and they're gonna pay up to like $300K? So it's like, that's interesting. So
Oh wow.
yeah, those are like the two main things. I have some other ones that like if you want to get to, we can, but those are the two good ones.
Okay, so let's go ahead and start with what happened first, in terms of not what happened first, but let's start with Taylor and Travis, because I felt like I was like a little tuned out when the whole announcement came through. I saw it, I heard about it. So let's talk about that first and dive in, and then we'll talk about a little bit about The Summer I Turned Pretty. And a couple of things that I want to highlight, and we'll definitely close out on the conversation of ChatGPT hiring for social strategists and how it is incredibly relevant and still absolutely necessary to have a skill set as a human and as an individual, and not be so worried about what AI is going to take over.
Absolutely.
So can you tell me a little bit more about just like the engagement and how it happened and how it was released?
Yeah, so it was wait, hold on. So sorry. She's crying. Let me check the monitor real quick. All right, and we're back. Someone decided to wake up a little early from her nap today, so she's going to be joining us. This is Coco.
Oh, Coco. Stop. They're adorable.
Yeah, so hopefully she kind of pipes down a little bit. She has a lot to say sometimes, so got to reel
Well,
in.
I'm sure she would be opinion about this whole Taylor and Travis situation. So
yeah, so what we were talking about, just kind of like quickly high level recapping, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce getting engaged last week, in case you were living under a rock. Essentially they hard launched the engagement on Instagram as a carousel post, collab carousel post, just really beautiful pictures of him popping the question. Like, I've been deep in like Swift world, so like there's all kinds of like things that people have been unpacking since then. So it looks like apparently it's like in his own backyard, and all these flowers brought in to kind of look like the Lover Garden from a music video. And then like people did some more digging based off of her manicure and her jewelry and accessories she was wearing, that they think it happened after she had recorded her episode on New Heights, to the episode where she basically revealed and launched her new album coming out. So yeah, people, like I said, this engagement heard around the world. Everyone was pumped. I feel like, just as like a low-key Taylor Swift fan myself, everyone's just been like rooting for her happiness and finding love. It's just been such a long journey that she just shares in her music and brings her audience and fans along for the ride. And so kind of fun. And so because of that, a lot of brands kind of hopped on that moment and created like celebratory posts, memes, just very reactional content that day. So Like I said, I was scrolling LinkedIn and people are either like about it and celebrating it and like giving brands props for kind of acting on and having fun with the moment. Some people are kind of like pessimistic about it and just being like, well, it doesn't make sense for your brand to act on it. Like people just need to stop jumping on any trend that has anything to do with Taylor Swift, etc. So actually
I
found
think
oh sorry, go ahead.
no, it's okay. I think it's an interesting thing, right? So, like, what you highlighted is that people are so interested and intrigued with the brand that is Taylor Swift, and they followed her story and throughout her songs, and that people are paying attention to her jewelry and what she wore, and like looking at all of these different aspects, which are what I would consider, like, not important, not relevant.
Yeah.
But people are so integrated into the culture, into following her, and into seeing, her level of success and her success in relationships that they do care. And I think that's such a powerful thing to be able to establish in your brand, in your business, is that people are paying attention. They're engaged, they're talking about it. And I want to hear a little bit more about the reception that you're seeing from brands that is negative. Why do you think people are saying you shouldn't just jump on this train when we're in like a trend society, a cultural norm in which social media and the conversation that we're having is all about trends and what's viral and what's happening right now, what's celebrity worthy, and responding as quickly as possible to what's out there. So why do you think people are not being happy about her like participating in something like that?
I think people just have an opinion on social in general, that anything that people do. I think people are just mostly sick of seeing it in their feeds, if anything. And I
Mhm.
think with everyone just being so active and present on social, it's an industry where if you see something a little too much, people will call it out and be like, all right, be more original. I think that's kind of like the overall like sentiment I was gathering from all the like negative posts I was seeing about it. But at the end of the day, I do follow a lot of social media marketers and pros and stuff, and everyone just kinda like, "Who cares?" Like, "Have fun with it," and, like, "Is this really ruining your life?" I took a screenshot of this post that I saw that, like, really highlighted just the overall, like, industry right now, and, let me see if I can find it. So it's like a diagram. It was posted by Nathan I'm probably gonna butcher his name, Nathan Jude Poker. But it's basically like this little, like, infographic diagram. I can read it for you, but it's like the title is, "Should your brand have considered jumping on the Taylor Travis narrative?" And then it's like this whole, diagram, and then basically all the answers just spit out to this one tidbit where it says, "Do you often wonder why nobody debates how people should be doing and not doing their jobs more than the social and creative economy industry? And it's created this vacuum of thought leadership and people who generally have minimal background and qualifications to make declarative and sweeping statements is turning this app into dumpster fire." And it says, "Sorry for the sidetrack. Make the freaking post and help your audience think you're a fun brand." So I thought it was just kind of like a really fun, like, very truthful way to kind of like sum up all the action going on around it.
Yeah. I think it's important to acknowledge that as a brand and as a business, there are going to be things that are for you and that are not for you. And you get to decide that,
Yeah.
right? Internally with your team, as a solopreneur, individual content creator, you always get to decide what you take part in and what you don't. The recent debacle with the whole Sydney Sweeney and then the Oak Bluffs and the Dunkin' Donuts and like all of that conversation that came out recently. Of course, we talked about that on the podcast, Joanna and I. And if you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit subscribe for the Click Tease podcast, because every single week we chat about these weekly updates and things that are happening in marketing and how you can leverage them for your own personal brand and business. But ultimately, people had to decide whether they were going to jump on that train or not. I'm kind of the variety that if you can jump on the train and apply it to your brand and business and make it make sense, then it doesn't matter what the topic is. We're
Yeah.
in a social media and marketing like age where you can talk about nothing related to your brand, but still have it make sense. And ideation is all about bringing different concepts and industries and theories together that may not seem related, but we are multidimensional people. We have all these different layers to our lives. and it's going to apply in different ways. You know, if you're a soap brand and you release like a Taylor and Travis line, and obviously there's legalities around that, but let's just, there's something that you release related to like their engagement that just like even just hints at it, like the flowers or the roses happening, right? And they leverage that at this time. Cool. Like it has, they're going to engage, has nothing to do with soap, but maybe it makes sense for your brand and business. And I think you're right about the naysayers, is that some people are just, you know, wanting people to be more original, but just that we're in an industry and an age of having fun. Like, I think the more fun you can have with social media is good. I think the difficult part when I see with those types of things is not knowing what's real. Like people were posting these videos of like Taylor Swift DMing them. And like, did you see all that?
No.
It was, I don't even know. I didn't look at it too deeply because I just didn't trust the content. I think that's something to keep in mind for your brand is, will your consumers in your audience lose trust with your brand because of the type of the content that you're creating? Then therefore not listen to what it is that you have to say in the future. So I think that's something to really pay attention to, because it was like DMs of Taylor Swift asking for like, hey, can you be my photographer?
I think, okay, I know what you're talking about now.
And so like, I just don't, I highly doubt that it's real, but I just now lack trust in that business and brand. And so I think that's something to be super mindful about.
Yeah. And like you said, just always make sure it makes sense for the brand. Ultimately, like, will your audience enjoy this piece of content? Will your audience like relate to it and appreciate it? And does it make sense for them to be seeing it in their feeds? So if the answer is no, then like maybe not.
But that's one thing about Taylor Swift and her brand that I think she's done so well overall with her music and everything else, is this concept and idea of one, vulnerability and authenticity, right? Sharing her story, speaking her truth, talking about her failures in relationships or difficulties and everything else, really getting her community engaged and seeing her win and having her be successful, which is what you want, right? As a brand, you want people to come around you. You want people to talk about you, you want them to engage with you, but you also want them rooting for you, right? They need to be like your number one, your biggest cheerleaders. And then the other aspect of Taylor Swift that I love that also brings us to The Summer I Turned Pretty is Easter eggs.
Oh my gosh.
And like you can't, like if you're a fan, you can't not pay attention to, again, the things that you talked about, like paying attention to the jewelry, paying attention to her lyrics, paying attention to her music videos and what she brings up here. And then it ties back to this thing that she did like 3 years ago. And then there's this other thing. And then, you know, there's all these like tips or like little sneak peeks. And one thing I've seen with The Summer I Turned Pretty in their marketing is everybody talking about these Easter eggs and how Jenny Han has presented the posters, has done the like episodic sneak peeks or reveals, what they've integrated into the show that is kind of trying to tell like, okay, who's it going to be? Like, what's going to happen? Because the story's turning out to be different than the books, right?
I mean, I haven't read the books, but.
Yeah. No, it's supposed to be like, there's supposed to obviously be things that align, but Jenny Han wanted to take the slightly different direction so that it wasn't so obvious what was going to happen.
If she ends up with Jeremiah, I'm going to be pissed.
Livid. I swear to goodness. I don't think, like, I have never been so invested in a show. And one of the reasons that I think I'm so invested and that I've seen too is because of this episodic release. So the three things I wanted to talk about, Right Turn Pretty, is the episodic release, the Easter eggs, and the way that I feel like they're presenting themselves on social media that has just so much conversation and so much following, which is the competition aspect. Team Jeremiah, Team Conrad. So many pieces of content surrounding that. So they really created this beautiful, like, multi-dimensional story and narrative that people want to pay attention to.
Well, remember who did it first? Team Edward versus Team Jacob.
That's huge. Like, and Twilight was so powerful in the way, and with the obviously the release of the stories over time in terms of the movie, And then you have this almost like competitive spirit and nature. And what you're doing by creating those two yes or no situations,
Yeah.
you're having someone decide, right? It's almost like this villain concept. In your brand, you want to have some sort of villain that your consumer is fighting against. It's like big pharma if you're in health, or other examples of like these things that you're pitting people against, and you're talking about this villain. And I feel like Team Jeremiah, Team Conrad kind of does that. And Jeremiah, unfortunately, is the villain in the story, even though like he's not a bad guy. He's just not the right. Like, that's the way I think about it.
Totally.
Yeah. So the episodic release, I think, has been really powerful because people are then tuned into and paying attention to what's going to come next. I think we have this sense that everyone has a short-term attention span. We have to give them what they want all at once. We've got to be able to like just put it all out there, which is typically what we've seen with Netflix and batch consumption, right? Let me just put out 20 episodes and then people are just going to watch back to back to back. But it just shortens the experience for people. And it kind of has this like little spike. Okay, now we're talking about Bridgerton and now we're not talking about Bridgerton.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, we're talking about Emily in Paris and now we're not talking about Emily in Paris. But The Summer I Turned Pretty has just drawn out this conversation because they have this release every single week, which also is very nostalgic.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this, but people are in cities, they're doing like bars or parks and they're watching the episodes live with the people.
Yeah. Well, and it's like kind of perfect because it's, taken over summer.
Yeah.
Especially when like other shows and sports and stuff are on hiatus. So it's kind of the perfect opportunity. What made me think of that too is I binged all of Love Island. But same thing, it's like that was episodic too. It's not like they just released everything at once. But yeah, I'm sure I would have been way more invested if I watched it like one episode at a time versus like everything back to back. Because, when you watch everything back to back, it's like, okay, this is kind of like fluff. This is fluff content. And I think that's how Summer I Turned Pretty probably would feel like too if you were just to binge everything at once. It's like, did this really need to be a 45-minute episode? Like, but then when you're just teasing us like that, it's like, yes, give us all of it.
Yeah. And it has those cliffhangers, right? From a storytelling perspective, at the end of every episode, you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And you want that in your content. You want people to be able to say, what's next? Yeah. You want to be able to open the loop and have them be invested in that thing or continuing to follow or what's the next video with you. So as much as you can, creating that environment. And we've seen that, positively on a lot of social media accounts for folks, is creating some style of episode where you get invested in main characters and then you have visiting characters, you have a storyline, you've got these personality quirks and traits. And so I think that marketing has transitioned to that storytelling narrative more and more and more. And then with the Easter eggs, I don't know if you've seen any of this, but like people trying to interpret the Easter eggs of the posters or what's happening in episodes to be able to tell what's going to come up.
No.
You haven't seen any of that? Okay, so up here, my feed is totally inundated with pretty too much.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're essentially looking at like, okay, so Taylor Swift, we're talking about her. This works perfectly because she created music, or integrated music with The Summer I Turned Pretty because out to take a chance, like music around. And there's a song, Loving You Is Red.
Yeah.
And so then they're trying to like people are looking at like, okay, well, Belly is wearing red in these scenes with Conrad versus or whatever with Maya. And then they're looking at the posters and like the placement of hands or where people are looking. So they're trying to look at all these little tells. And then throughout the show, they have these little pieces and people will play them on their social media and talk about it. And so the other aspect of that is you're not only providing that kind of like surprise, delight, Easter egg for the audience member, for the consumer, but you're also having people talk about it organically. And so now you have all of these proponents for what it is that you're doing, sharing it for free without any encouragement by you because they naturally want to talk about it.
Yeah, that's the dream for any brand, right? it's like ultimate earned media and just like sparking these conversations. I think a lot of brands can kind of take notes on that and like, okay, what are ways that we can like spark these conversations, engagements, theories, people just kind of creating content on their own, talking about like their theories and like their hot takes on it. And like I said, that's just like that's what makes like organic social so much fun.
Yeah, and so powerful. And so if you think about it, your physical product, for example, how can you hint, tease, create something with your clothing line that would then have people talk about like, okay, this is what they're going to do next, and try to project and just get excited about what it is, you know? Or if you're a service-based business, is how you can get people to share and talk about what it is that you offer because it was so unique, so different, so interesting, and that people were just kind of blown away by it. Or how can you create content that people naturally want to share with other people because it was powerful, made them think differently, or brings up something that they hadn't thought of before.
Yeah, absolutely. No, totally.
Yeah. So the whole Team Jeremiah, Team Conrad, I think has been super powerful in creating, again, that like villain, that competitive nature, the episodic release aspect of it, the Easter eggs. The Summer I Turned Pretty, I think, is just a really powerful, like long-term campaign on how to keep people engaged, how to keep them talking, and how they share about you. So as we start to this conversation, I'd love to come back to the ChatGPT and this strategist, because ultimately we're looking at all of these topics, all of these things, and people have this concern, right? That AI is going to take over, that it's going to kind of like overwhelm their abilities, and they're going to be useless, or that AI is going to take video or copy or all of the things. But why is it so important that we continue to develop our own skill sets and actually have humans in these creative positions?
I think, I mean, as someone who uses ChatGPT almost every single day, I mean, it is nice for like speeding up some processes, scaling some processes, like having it be just like a brainstorm buddy, like might take you like a long time, that are a little bit more tedious. But when it comes to like actually creating, it still kind of misses that human touch, that human element that like, you know, people just get it. Like either you get it or you don't. And like sometimes ChatGPT just doesn't. And like things just need more of like a human flair and touch that comes from real life experiences. It comes from just people. That's the thing, is like people can draw on like their memories, their real life experiences, like their upbringing and stuff, and like all that stuff influences anything that we put out in the world. So yeah, I think like this job posting of OpenAI is seeking a content strategist for ChatGPT. I have the job posting up. The salary range is $310,000 to $393,000 a year. So clearly it's an extremely important role for them to really expand their content marketing for ChatGPT, that they obviously do not trust their own like tool to whip something up for. Because like I said, like it's not like ChatGPT can pull upon human behavior in a way that actual people interacting with each other can. But I mean, what an awesome gig for somebody. Like that would be so much fun doing content strategy for ChatGPT. What else was I looking at? I think overall, like the overall sentiment of like we were saying, like for these writer and creation type industries being afraid that AI is going to take over their jobs. It's like, especially blog writing and SEO. It's like, hello, ChatGPT gets all of its knowledge from these blogs. You know, so it's like someone's got to still be creating all of that content for ChatGPT and AI to be like getting all of its knowledge from. So I thought that was like an interesting way to put things too, that like I really don't think SEO and content is going to be going anywhere.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Also, we still need humans and the mind of a human to be able to operate these things. Like AI maybe at some point will be at the point where it can build upon itself and then start to create from scratch, you know, authentic new things. But right now, it's just a language learning model.
Yeah.
It just learns things that have already been in place and it regurgitates those things. And it can be super helpful with data. It can be super helpful with analytics. It can be helpful for ideation. It can be helpful for grammatically correcting whatever it is that you need to maybe put out. But when it comes to creativity, when it comes to human ingenuity, when it comes to personal brand and personality, it doesn't yet replicate that. So the fact that something like ChatGPT as a company is willing to pay multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars for a role to strategize content, you're absolutely right. It means that ChatGPT can't just do it all by itself. It's got to have a human behind it. And that person has to be able to have a skill set to be able to think strategically and be able to be creative, have ingenuity, and be able to actually implement, and move forward and move a team and lead.
Yeah, and I think this is a really important signal for other companies to be paying attention to, because I know a lot of companies are starting to trim down their teams and replacing a lot of these functions with AI, and cutting costs and stuff. Because of that, I just know that like all these companies are just really putting money on AI being the future of like a lot of functions and stuff within business, which is true. But like, I mean, because working in marketing, I feel like marketing is always the first team to like get cut if like things need to be trimmed down a little bit. But like I said, like with OpenAI hiring this role, I think it signals that like you may think you can cut corners and take shortcuts with AI, but I think it's just going to come full circle back to people being like, oh shoot, that didn't really work. Like using AI for these specific like content creation and writing tasks in the business just like isn't really working out. And so I hope and I feel like we're going to come back around and people are going to be hiring like these specific roles again, that initially they were hoping AI would replace. I'm manifesting that, but like your real personal opinion.
And I agree completely because I think that AI needs to take the role of automation and Tease. Like things, so I use Motion app for like scheduling and AI like task planning.
Yeah.
And that's a really great AI project management tool. So I use ChatGPT in conjunction with Motion to be able to basically say, hey, I want to run this campaign or this launch. These are the steps that we need to think of. You flesh out the steps and then you can copy paste that all into AI or Motion. And it will literally plan out in the calendar with timelines, dates, and everything else. Those are the types of tasks that we don't need the brain power for.
Yeah.
It's not creative. There's no authentic need for it. It's just matriculation. And so I think that that's the focus from a business owner and entrepreneurial perspective, that I think we need to be smart about our integration of AI for automations and systems and easing up time, like unnecessary time spent on tasks and activities. But I think that we need to drastically maintain creative roles that are people who have thoughts and energetics and can, drive and move forward with intention. So thank you so much. It was so great. This was the first time I actually met Alexis. So I loved our conversation. And for you listening, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe for the Tease podcast. Every single week, we bring you the marketing tea, what's happening in social media content creation, how you can perform better when it comes to your content, when it comes to your customer journey, when it comes to your overarching business strategy. And then also check the show notes because we have a Substack where we follow up with these episodes, which are more chatty, more looking at kind of like the fun social conversation. But then not Substack, you get directly to your email the core takeaways and steps that you can take immediately right now in your business in order to implement what we've discussed. All right. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one.